Welcome to NSA E-Nuggets series, a series of live talks on topics relating to active aging. These live talks will take place every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. here on C3A's Facebook page. You can share this live video with your family and friends too. After the live session, this video will be made available on both our Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to National Silver Academy E-Nuggets series. So good to meet you here. My name is Peter Yo from Ngee Polytechnic, School of Film and Media Studies. I've been teaching in this school for 30 years, but this is my first time online with live recording. So I hope we have a good time today learning about how to take good photo with your smartphone. Are you ready? Let's begin. I thought it's interesting to look at this cartoon. The moment I look at this cartoon, it reminds me about the old days, right? And very often, we also have this mindset. Think about, hey, all the professional photographer must be using those big bulky cameras. Then they qualify to be a photographer. But this has changed now. These days, all the smart handphone is getting better and better. And the quality is improving these days, right? Then maybe you wonder why. What handphone am I using? There's a big range in the market. I'm sure you own one of them, but you may wonder why or what. Which handphone is good for me and I can take good photo? All right, randomly, I select one of these three top models in the market. One is Samsung, one is Apple, one is Huawei. Then you may think, hey, am I a salesperson? But please don't be mistaken. I'm not a salesperson. I happens that use these three brands before. Of course, not all these three top models. But I noticed these three top models, they are very powerful. Why they are so powerful? Why they are so good in camera work? Let me explain. If you look carefully, these three top models, they got 4 camera lenses. And these 4 camera lenses is very useful and very versatile. Like for instance, the wide-angle lens. The wide-angle lens is the lens that you use most of the time. That's what you call primary lens. And when you're taking any picture, you'll be using this wide-angle lens. Sometimes you may come to a place like a very big field, like even you have these big buildings and you cannot use a wide-angle lens to capture everything. So this handphone gives you another option called ultra wide angle. And this ultra angle able to capture everything in one shot. But please bear in mind, ultra wide angle lens a bit different. The moment you capture it, it maybe will be distorted. What do you mean distorted? Distorted means on the side, the left-hand side and right-hand side will be curvy. Right? So be careful if using ultra wide angle lens. Has to be special condition, a special situation. Then you have to use this ultra wide angle lens, but very useful. On another occasion, you may see something from a far distance and you want to zoom in to that particular object. So in this case, there's another option called telephoto lens. Telephoto lens will allow you to zoom in to that shot, and then you can take from a far distance. So this is very good. And the last one is called front selfie lens. And most of the time when using handphone, we like to use selfie lens. So For these three top models, they got 4 lenses. You can use it anytime. So that's why they are top models. Yes, most of the time when you're using handphone, we like to play with selfie, taking your own, or even using the stick to take your own shots. Or you want to take Vivi, right, with a group of friends. So we use handphone to take selfie and Vivi. But the question is, how do you handle your handphone? That is important. Sometimes can be critical. Why so critical? Remember this, not all handphone able to take sharp picture, because in some mid or lower range of handphone may not have this device called optical image stabilization. And this one is the counter movement of your lens. So like for instance, you're doing panning, tilting, and so forth, your camera, right, a movement, right, or still a slight movement, the picture may not be sharp and clear. So it's important, if your handphone, there's a built-in device called optical image stabilization. For I'm sure all the latest model got this device. It's a hardware device, right? So it's always good to put it in practice. Take your handphone, use your handphone slowly, and then pay patient a little bit more. Take a little bit of time, capture it steady, right? That is the most crucial part when using handphone. If your handphone is not the latest model. Now, we want to go into our contents here. We will take sometimes to cover about what is the most common mistakes you make when you're using handphone or even taking pictures. And we also cover a little bit of different tips can learn today. Like for instance, if you look at these two pictures, the top one and the bottom one, they look identical. Are you able to tell the difference? Probably you can spot it, right? The top one, you can see the horizon is tilted or slanted. So we say this is a bit distracting. So what you need to do is, the first thing when if you see a very nice, interesting scenery or spot, you want to capture it, but make sure the horizon is straight. So that is good. Once it's straightened, then you can capture it. So first thing in your mind, when you capture your photograph, align the horizon. So that is the first technique or first thing you have to pay attention. So if you're going to any outdoor, I'll just show you a few examples, especially outdoor seaside, all right? You will see horizon, many horizon around, all right? You can capture it easily, but be sure they are all straightened up. Whether it's a top, whether it's a bottom, whether it's center, be sure the horizon is straight. So even sometimes you are in the building, right? This one is a CBD area in one of the car parks. And you will see there are some pillar around, right? But the thing is, you should able to check the horizon. Make sure the horizon is straightened up. The vertical line is straightened up as well. So vertically, horizontally must be straight. I show examples, some shots I've taken overseas. I used to bring students to overseas for photography trips. So this is one of the places that we went to. And I noticed a very nice sunset shots. The sun is coming up or going down, right? So I look at it, firstly, I found my nice spot and quickly adjust my horizon. This was taken at Laos. And again, I noticed the environment very beautiful, very unique, right? The moment I find the right spot to capture it. At the same time, I pay attention to the horizon. or even nighttime with buildings, right? So I was always pay attention to the horizon. Of course, there's some composition techniques in here. I will not cover everything, but at least you can tell the horizon and vertical lines and horizontal lines, they're all both straightened. What happened if you have taken the shots, but the shots are slanted? All right, so don't worry. Most of the latest model, or at least the mid-range or upper range, your camera got this built-in device, right? So, like for instance, this shot, interesting. It's a nice, very nice thunder at MRT, but unfortunately, the whole thing is tilted, slanted, look like earthquake, isn't it? So the thing is, how should I correct it? Yes, there's a way to correct it. In your handphone, there's a editing device. So you just have to click edit. And once you click edit, you'll come up with this interface. And you will see you have to tick the rotate. Once you click the rotate, you have this interface again. Once you're able to see the rotation, you just manipulate the rotation until the line is straightened up. Right? Even this rotation, once you rotate it, there's some lines to guide you as well to make it a line. Like for instance, this was the previous shots with all the horizontal line, vertical line, they're all crooked. So it doesn't look good. After edited, that's how it will look like. And all the lines are straightened up. That's why it look good. But I'm not too sure you notice this. There's a difference between the original shots and the slanted shot after edited. Because after edited from your shots, the certain part of the shot will be cropped out, right? So that's why it's important. Every time when you capture the shots, make sure the horizontal line and vertical line, they're all straightened up. Okay, you may ask, is there any feature in my handphone that can help me to align the horizontal and vertical lines that you have in your mind? The answer, yes. You can turn on the grid feature in your smartphone. I believe some of you have used this before, right? Or someone have set it up for you before, or you have done it before. So you wonder what this grid line is. Before we do that, you must know how to do the setting. And different cameras or different handphone, they got different way of setting. So for instance, Samsung, you need to go into the camera icon first, like you're taking picture using the icon. Then you go to the setting icon, right? Then you see the word grid lines, right? Select the grid line. As for iPhone, a bit different. It's just go reverse. You go to setting icon first, then you have to select photo and camera, right? So then later you select grid. The next one is Huawei. Huawei is something similar to Samsung. You go to camera mode, icon, then go to setting icon, then you select assistive grid. You notice these three models or these three brands, they call it slightly different. Samsung called it grid lines, iPhone called it grid, and Huawei called it assistive grid. But they function exactly the same. So how is it going to look like? So the moment you turn on the grid, you'll see there are two horizontal lines and two vertical lines. And they appear on your screen. Then you may be wondering, hey, if all the lines appear on my screen, would that interfere my picture or not? The answer is no, because these lines, they are very subtle and very tiny. It's to assist you for the horizontal and vertical lines. So it won't affect your picture at all. So don't worry about it. But people, the beginner especially, they like to use these lines to get you, for the alignment. But once you get used to it, you may be able to take it off, right? So that is the Greek line to help you to align. So with that lines in mind, or once you turn it on, if something look like two horizontal, two vertical lines, and this there's another method you can use it to compose your shots. The method is called the rule of third. And you notice with this Greek line, this four line, there are some cross section. What are the cross sections? There are 4 different cross sections. One on the left, 2 from the left, and 2 on the right, right? And 4 different points. And this point, we call it point of interest. In other words, anytime any interesting point or focus point, you will place it in one of these points, right? I'll show example. This shot was taken at one of the temples in China, Hangzhou, called Lingyingshi. Of course, if this is a very famous place, it's very nice, interesting objects or scenery to capture, a lot of people will choke to the right spot to capture. So I have to fight against with the photographer to capture these shots. So where is the point of interest in these shots? I'm sure you know. You can look at the Greek line, right? And the head of the Buddha will be the point of interest. So very easy, right? Can use this method to capture the shots. Show you a few more examples. Like for instance, if you go to Botanic Garden, right? You see this shelter, right? This one is very famous. Everyone knows that. So instead of placing the shelter right at the center, you place it on the right and capture the shots using the point of interest on the right hand corner. And for the person, right, instead of placing it at the center, you capture it on the left hand side, right, using the points of interest as the points of focus. Or sometimes you may have a close-up shot, right? Any species, can be animal, can be birds, right? So you want to use the eye as the point of interest. So this is a few examples using the rule of third. Capture the focus point that you are interested and use it as a point of interest. I thought that to show you a few examples they have taken. Right, look like this rooster. This rooster was taken in Myanmar, one of the small villages. And the moment I saw this rooster from a far distance, I have to go in slowly. Because this rooster, they can fly, they can run very fast. So I must take very, slowly get closer to the rooster, right? Until the right time, I capture it. Even now, until today, when I look at this rooster, I like it very much. No doubt the color, the feather look wonderful. Later I understand. I find it very interesting. Hey, wow, look at the feet. They have this little sharp thing, look like fighting rooster, right? So it's like I have a knife with it, right? So very interesting. So anyway, the head of the rooster become the point of interest. For this shot, it was taken in Laos together with my group of students. Happens that I went to this place under the river. From a far distance, I noticed a guy. He's a fisherman. He catch fish. So I slowly go in until approach his with a short distance. When he start rolling and get ready his stuff before he casts his net. And before he casts his net, I already start framing according to rule of third. And the moment he throw or casts his net, I capture the shots at the time, at the moment. Right? I took the shots only once. Because once you miss it, you see? So it's important you always get it ready. And where's the rule of third? The head of the fisherman. Again, this one was taken in Myanmar. Right? Where's the rule of third? This is another fisherman using different net to capture fish. And they're using one leg to row the boat as well. And 1/3 of the rule, all right, you can place it 1/3 over here. And I'm not too sure anyone remember this. This is the white tiger in Singapore Zoo, very famous. And at that time, a lot of people went there because they want to see this tiger. And where's the rule of third? Where's the point of interest? I just use the head as my point of interest. Very simple, isn't it? And to show you another last example. This was taken in Laos. Background was a very interesting waterfall. Right? The moment I look at this waterfall, it's interesting, but without a human being, look very dull. So I wait for a little while, and I notice a guy over there slowly climbing up to the rocks. And I wait until he climb up to the position. Of course, again, I notice he's in the right spot. I frame it according to the rule of third and place him at the point of interest that I want. And of course, I wait until he have the nice posture. Then I took the shots. So this was using rule of third. So by now, I hope you have a good understanding what is rule of third and try to apply this rule of third with your great lines. Okay, sometimes we may able to see certain things like have a big building, and also the big buildings, it have certain line that bring you to another building. So in other words, it leads viewer to see where your main object is. We call it leading lines. Like for instance, the reservoir shots. Where are the leading lines? I'm sure you're able to see, right? There are two sides of railing, and these two sides of railing bring you to the shelter. That's why they call leading lines. Maybe you come to a certain place with two big buildings, right? And with these streets, right? The base of the buildings and the street itself form two lines. Yeah. And if you come to the playground, same thing. If you can see two lines at the bottom, right? So these are the leading lines. So leading lines can be everywhere. Like this one was taken at Clarke Quay, right? And you can see the leading lights actually the neon lights. The neon lights lead you to the shelter. And this shot have to be taken lower angle, so it look nice. But please don't mistaken, leading lines only two lines or one line, can be all four different directions. You can see from the left, from the right, from the top, and from the bottom, can be all this become the leading lines. And the leading lines also can be curved line. This one was taken in Polytechnic, one of the teaching block, right? The lines is curving, right? From one corner to another corner and from top to another corner. But the line is curvy, right? So this is very interesting, different type of lines, but it's curved. This shot was taken in Singapore Chinese garden. Where are the leading lines? You see, they are all curved line, right? So these are a bit different type of line, but it's curved lines. So a quick summary. I think we've covered quite a few things here. I thought it would be good to have a revision a little bit. What are the points so far I covered? One, when you're using a handphone, always hold it steadily because not all handphone got a optical image stabilization. So your shot may get blurred. So you need to hold it slowly and take it slowly. And we're good to turn on your grid lines. And these grid lines can help you to align your horizontal and vertical lines, right, for taking your picture. And with this horizontal and vertical lines, actually also can help you to apply the rule of thirds. I've been showing a very few examples. I hope by now you should know what is rule of third. And try to capture your points of focus to be your points of interest. At this point, the last one, you make use of the line to capture your leading line. Leading lines can be one line, can be two lines, can be four lines as well. So as long as able to lead you to the subjects that you want. And all these are the 5 points so far I've covered. And 2 more tips I want to cover, right? And I thought this is very important. We just go through this. Things that you need to avoid. What are the things you need to avoid when you are taking picture? Beside the 5 things that I just mentioned just now. I'm not too sure you noticed this. In fact, this shot was very often this happened. Look at the head. Look at the body. Look at the leg. They are disproportionate. Because the head is big, body and the leg is small. So they are not in proportion. So it's good that you try to make it right. How to make it right? Most of the time, because I think when the person taking these shots could be taller than the talent. So you need to lower your camera angle, right? Whether you have to lower until the eye level or from low angle capture it. Like for instance, these shots. If you're taking from the high angle, then these people look small. When taking from a low angle, these people look better and the effect is much better, right? Even the shots look interesting. The next one, another disproportional shots. Look at the foreground and background. What do you think? Is the background important or the talent is more important? When you're showing the shots, you want to tell the people about this environment, about Malayans, right? But the thing is, you also want to show them who is the person in this shots. Which one is more important? The person is more important or the environment is more important? And you want to capture everything. So how to do that? Okay, there's a little bit of technical things. Don't worry. I can go back a little bit. Yep. Okay, so how to do that? If you look at here, the talents are all moved forward to the camera. So once the talent move forward to the camera, they become your important subject. So the background's still there. So it's important to move your subject closer to the camera. Then you solve all the problem. Last point that I want to mention here. If you look at this picture, you notice there are many things covered. And as an amateur photographer or photo taking, we tend to capture a lot of things in one shot. But the thing is, we're not too sure what to focus on. Your eyes may be going around to look at the talents, look at the tables, look at the buildings, look at everything in its surrounding. So what is the subject matter? Always pay attention the subject matter. So if, for instance, I decided to see one of the talents to be my subject matter and the shot's going to look like this, I identify the subject matter. Once a subject matter is identified, all the surrounding will be complement your subject matter. Now, even the bicycle, right? The bicycle is also interesting because it complement the subject. It could be because of talents, ride a bicycle, ride his bike to this place to have a Indian tea, right? So the rest will be complement your subject. I show you another example. Right? For instance, this picture, where are the subject matter? The flower, isn't it? So if the flower is the subject matter, then probably I'll focus on the flower. Then it stands out. This is the subject matter. And the rest is just, you don't have to really see it because the subject stands out by itself. And last example, what's the subject matter? You see, of course, you're able to see the old man and the little kids having this nice conversation, right? So where is the subject matter, right? So I will focus on these two persons having nice close-up shots of them, nice conversation. At the same time, I see some other feature, other elements as well. It complement your subject matter. So let's have a takeaway, what you have for today. First, hold your handphone steady because not all handphone got this optical image stabilizer. And always turn on your grid line so that it can use it to guide you, help you to align your horizontal and vertical lines. With that, you also can apply the rule of thirds, capture the point of interest to be your focus point. And so at the same time, use it as a leading line to capture your main subject you want the people to know. Remember, ways to avoid certain things like disproportional shots. It could be the head is too big, body too small. So need to align your camera angle. Can be eye level, can be low angle. And last but not least, this is the most important point of the today, subject matter. Always identify what is a subject matter. If you cannot identify the subject matter, the audience, the viewer will not know what is your points of focus or what you're trying to tell the audience about this picture. So if you're interested for today's lesson, you may want to learn more about what is digital photographer, and I'll offer courses as well. So like this was the some shots taken at Garden by the Bay, and I brought my student over there to take pictures. Right. So if you're interested, you may want to sign up some of these courses. And there are 2-day course under digital photography. Right. You can go to the website and look for this bit.ly/sc-dp. There are 2 courses, one in English and one in Mandarin. So if you just pick up wherever you want. So now is the time for Q&A. We have about 10 to 15 minutes. All right. So for Q&A, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. I try my very best to answer you. Okay, there's one question here. How to select a smartphone with good camera? How to select a smartphone with good camera? Of course, different people select smartphone a different way. Right? Some look for design. How is it going to look like? Right? Some look for style. Right? Some look for technology. Right? I would say if you want to look for a good handphone with good camera, you must look for the camera lens. Is it, are they in this good high megapixel? That means the resolution, the picture quality is good. And also, if you are very serious about taking camera, then you want to think about, is there any control, like menu control for exposure? You're able to set like ISO, shutter speed, or even aperture. These are manual control. And handphone also important. If it's under low light condition, are you still able to capture the shots? Yeah, this is important if your handphone can capture. All right, some handphone, they got very good in zoom. Like you want to pay attention to optical zoom, not digital zoom. Optical zoom is the one that you're able to capture the shots that you can zoom in and is clear and focused. This digital zoom is about allows you to take picture, allows you to see, but when you take the picture, may not be focused unless sometimes the lighting condition is very good. Like for instance, I've tried once before with my Huawei, from very far distance, right, 50 times zoom, right? So in other words, about what, 20, 30 meters away, right? I still able to capture the shots. So you always pay attention to all this. One thing you want to pay attention, if you want to buy a camera, get a good handphone, please go to this website. During this time, I found one very good website called DxO Mark. If you can't remember, XO is a alcohol, right? So DxO Mark, MARK.com. They give you a very extensive professional testing and give you a wide range of handphone, even with the individual rating for each model. So please go into this website. Again, DxO Mark, MARK.com. Okay, we got a question now. Which photo edit app is good? Okay, there are few types of photo edit. I used to use photo edit within my handphone. I don't use additional photo edit because this day a lot of smartphone got built-in edit capability. So unless you want to add on, then you can add on. But I would say for amateur, for beginner, you don't need additional app at all. Right? So unless you want to go further, of course, you can go to something like Lightroom, right? These are very good, very professional, right, for handphone. But I will not use it unless you try your built-in editing handphone first before you get into the professional one. How to use the photo grid? The photo grid is to help you to align the horizontal and vertical lines. Basically, it's for that purpose. But because this grid is on, so it can help you to compose your shots as well. So it's two things you can do. Align the horizontal, vertical lines, at the same time, compose your shot using the rule of third. So I hope this can help you to understand things that you can use what you learned today. Is there any questions? Okay. Sometimes you may ask, when I take my shots, how to be sure my shot is sharp? That's a very basic question, right? How to be sure my shot is sharp? So you can first use your finger, just tap on the monitor, the point that you want to focus. that is the most easy way to do it. Another way to do it is try to move the camera closer to the subject that you want to take. Right? So these are very simple, easy to work on. Okay, in one of your earlier slides with the roster photo, can we edit the roster in different colors? Of course. Once you go into edit mode, you can change many different things. You can change the color, you can change the color temperature, you can change to black and white. All this can be changed, right? Or you can change even the sharpness, like for instance, defocus, right? So all different type of models of handphone or smartphone can make use of all this editing feature. Any apps to edit our photo more beautiful and brighter? All right, okay. As so far, what shots that I've taken and I edit within my built-in editing device, that is good enough. In fact, you really can't tell much of the difference with this professional editing software. Of course, as I say, people, they use professional editing software because they are very critical in certain things, right? So they want to add in and then want to take out and want to compose the shots with 2 or 3 different compositions, right? Then you need some special editing software. Are the photo taken by DSLR camera or photo camera? Okay, the photo that I showed you just now, mainly from DSLR. That time when I was, because we brought a group of students for photography trips, so we use all professional cameras, right? So I use different cameras. I use Olympus, I use Sony, right, with all full frame. So then I can crop it again, the shots that I want. And of course, these days, because these days, this handphone is so handy and getting better and better with the lens, so I tend to use handphone to capture shot already, right? A lot of times okay, now I remember, some of the shots I also use handphone actually, right? It's not all in digital DSLR. So there's a mix of different shots using handphone and DSLR. What photo mode would you recommend? Okay, are you talking about camera setting? So if camera setting, right, you can put in a normal mode, but if after normal mode, then you can do a little bit editing if you want. But please pay attention to the general guideline, that rule of third, like the grid, the alignment, right? Make use of all this before you capture your shots. How to turn on the grid line? Okay. Yes, there are different brand of camera or handphone, the different setting. Like already, if you can go back and see the Samsung setting, iPhone setting, Huawei setting, slightly different, and they name it differently as well. So these are the setting for different camera. If you're still not too sure, it's very easy. You go to your manual book and look for it. Or any time you just go to your models and look again. It's very easy to set up. Only different because iPhone and other Android phone slightly different of the setting. The rest is quite straightforward. For digital course, what camera would you recommend to buy for first timer? These days, if you're talking about smartphone, the smartphone actually is better than compact camera. But if you want, you may get the mid-range. Mid-range camera is very versatile now. They are very good for photo as well as video. And they work well for both. And they also come in with Wi-Fi. You can transfer your shots directly. Right? And this day, because the smartphone come in so handy and the price is so good, so the price of this mid-range DSLR has dropped a lot. Used to be something like $2,000-3,000. Now can be 1,000 plus. You can get a very good camera. So you can go for Nikon, Canon, Olympus, right? All this mid-range camera will be okay. How do we use handphone to take night shots? Okay. Again, handphone, smartphone, sometimes you can take night shots. Like there's a special feature called night. So you can use night to take night shots. That's straightforward. Right? But if you are taking night shots, you need to hold on for a little while because it takes about 4 seconds to generate the whole shots. So, but it's turned out to be something like daytime. So very interesting, right? Using night mode to take night shots, right? So you want to look at your handphone. Even when you buy a handphone, you want to see whether in low light condition, are you still able to capture the night shots or these good shots? Are you able to attend my course just using smartphone instead of a camera? The answer, yes. During my class in the past, I've conducted so far 5 times, right? With all different workers, working adults and senior. Some, they come with handphone, but the smart handphone, the latest smart handphone with the manual setting will be good. Without that, then you may lose out something because I cover technical things as well as aesthetic. So technical things, that means you need to manually control all the ISO, the shutter speed, as well as the aperture. How these 3 things work together to get good exposure. So if you are using handphone or smartphone, make sure you have this good setting or mode. Any tips for taking selfie and Wi-Fi? Well, if you are taking selfie, usually there's a bit restrictions, right? So it would be good you use a selfie stick. Selfie stick is very handy. And these days, selfie stick come with 2 types. One is with remote control. And remote control can be line, it can be without line. So try to select the one without line. So you have better control. And then with the stick, you can take wider shots. So instead of stretching your hand. So I would recommend, if you can, use the stick, right, to capture your selfie or including Wi-Fi. That's always come in very handy. Yes, in fact, there's one question here. Some people like to squat down to take picture. Is that all right? Because the subject will appear differently from normal straight angle. Yes. In fact, just now I show you some of the pictures. Instead of taking the normal eye level, you want to lower down your angle. And once you lower down angle, it appears something very different from a normal angle. And the shots tends to look more interesting. So try to explore different angle. Try not to keep to the same level. Right? Once you explore a different angle, the shots will be much better. So I would say, yes, you must use different angle, including the low camera angle. In fact, a lot of shots, I like to use low camera angle. Okay, in handphone, there's one question. There are multiple modes, filter effects on the mobile camera. Any tips on which mode to use? First of all, I must admit, I'm not an expert in handphone. So all handphones got a different type of setting, right? Can be including filters and effects, right? So you have to use your own gauging. What is good? What you think looks good, as long as it looks natural. You want to make sure even after making the effects or filter, it must be look natural, right? So once you are overdone, then the shot look very ugly and very funny. So just pay attention to this part. If you want to look for good effects for look filter, you must go into the particular brand, particular model, because all brand, all model a bit different. Should we turn on the flash when taking photo at night? Personally, I don't use flash at all, because once you use flash, the person look flat. So the person doesn't look good at all. So I like to use night mode or put a tripod. So these are the better shots if without flash. If happens that you really have to use flash, then it had to be a close distance. So that is the only way you can use flash. Besides, handphone flash is very small. So the flash is not powerful at all. So that can only take some close distance. I noticed some, I tried some times ago, when I use flash, actually make no much difference. There's no much effects at all. So if your handphone got a night mode, then it turned out to be better. So always look into this night mode and with good megapixel for light, low light condition. Okay, again, how do we take night skylight, full moon, and when they use the slow mode or motion mode? Again, like handphone, Huawei handphone got this slow mode also, right? You can take slow mode, we can take night mode, right? So I'm not promoting Huawei, but because the technology is so good now, right? So you need to look for handphone that able to take slow mode, able to take night mode, right? So that will give you a very sharp, nice photo at night. Mr. Yo, do you take in all the key points? Okay, I don't quite understand about this. Do you take in all the key points? So perhaps you need to elaborate about your questions. I'm not too sure what you mean, take in all the key points. How do we take good photo in the night? Okay, I already mentioned just now, either you use night mode, use tripod, or use the handphone or smartphone with night mode, right? You cannot use flash at all. So you just have to try out, because night mode a bit different from normal because of lighting, right? So it depends very much on the capability of the handphone itself. Any advice for how to take sunset or sunrise photo? Sunset, sunrise, not much different compared to a normal shots. Besides, the lighting may be lower, but usually smartphone is able to capture all this with normal lens, right? So I think that is not much problem at all. You need to go and try yourself, right? So it is not like magic. So you just have to make sure your handphone is steady, make sure that you place it right, make sure you use all the rule of thirds, make sure the lines are all straightened up. Can we cut and paste the objects in another image? Right, this part will be the editing process. Right, I think at this point of time, for handphone, to my knowledge, you don't have this editing facility unless you use additional apps. You have to download the apps. This will consider as composing the shots. So you need additional apps to download and place the picture inside, do additional editing. Okay. If need to take photo from very far away camera, can do better, is it? If need to take photo from very far away camera, can do better, is it? Seems like your question is you want to take from a long distance, right? So you need to zoom in. So as I say, when you zoom in, there are two types of zoom. One is optical zoom, one is digital zoom. Optical zoom will give you short image. But the moment you go to digital zoom, you may able to see it, but you may not get it clear and sharp, depend on the lighting condition. So this day, even Samsung claim that you can take 100 times of normal zoom. Can you imagine that? You must try yourself. So far, I tried my Huawei handphone 50 times zoom. Yes, I able to capture it from that far distance. And seems the shot looks good to me. Can we have 3D image using smartphone? Okay, again, depend on which smartphone. All right. So I never play with 3D for smartphone. I have something like different type of artificial intelligence type of lens. It can take 3D image, right? Additional image into it, but not so much about really 3D. So I would say try to focus on photo instead. Of course, photo can take video as well. So when you are buying photo, your camera, look for the photo capability as well as video capability, right? So these are two things you want to look at, as well as the sound. If you want to look at as well, you are taking video. You're very serious about video. How to take a high-rise building? How to take a high-rise building? All right, high-rise building, you need a very low-angle shots, right? You may need a ultra-wide-angle lens. If a normal lens, you may not be able to capture all. It may look a bit distorted, but look interesting. So remember, if you want to take high-rise building, you need to capture a low angle and aim up, but with a ultra-wide-angle lens. How to adjust the shutter timing on iPhone without using the Lightroom phone feature? Okay, again, these are questions on handphone, not so much about photography. So you need to go into the iPhone, find out a little bit more about the Lightroom editing. And these are editing feature as well. It's nothing to do with photography. So you need to understand this is a big lesson. It's entirely different thing about handphone. It's about editing on handphone. So today what we cover is mainly how to take good photo. Editing is a separate matter. So, but of course, if you come to my class, I will show some simple editing method. And once you're able to capture some good techniques, then you're able to get a good shots of editing. But of course, if you want to know a little bit more about additional professional editing, you need to attend special course like Lightroom. Okay, I'm not familiar about the editing apps. I don't use so much by editing apps, except some of the like Lightroom, like others professional editing. But I never heard about this Me Too Xiu good photo editing apps. Right? As I say, most of the time when I'm using my handphone or smartphone, I use built-in editing. I don't use additional apps at all. Right? But occasionally, if I want to do some other additional things, then I may too, but I hardly do that. So because I don't have a good knowledge of all editing apps, so you have to do some comparison, right? Like something like just now I showed an app, they compare all the handphone. I'm sure there's an app that can compare all different editing apps. Please do so. I'm sorry to say that. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. Do we have to take all the key points before you take the photograph, like rule of third, subject matter? The answer, yes. This, you want to take a good picture. It's not just press the button, right? You have to think ahead. In fact, there are many different techniques to capture good pictures. So when you're taking good pictures, first thing you come to your mind, for instance, if this is going to be emphasized about a line, is this going to be good techniques to use rule of thirds? Is it going to be the subject matter? Of course, which ones come first? The subject matter comes first. The subject matter is very important to come in first, right? Then you know how to make use of the rest, like using rule of third, like using the rest to complement your subject matter. If possible, try to minimize those things that you don't want, right? So maybe like for instance, the additional person, additional objects, you maybe cut it off, right? So when you try to aim that time, also think about the angle, which angle is good. So to take a good shot, you need to think about subject matter, think about how to compose the shots, how to take a good angle, right? All this need to be considered. All right, we have a last question. Anyone? When I view my night shots photo, always a lot of noise. How to reduce noise in editing? All right, again, if you are taking a night shots, be careful. Night shots is the time that always affects your picture. It's important your camera must have high resolution, big megapixel. That's why the professional camera, they sell it so expensive is because the sensor is able to pick up good lighting. For handphone, may not have this good sensor, right? So for night shots, it's important to use night mode and with good resolution camera, good megapixel. Unless you have a good professional DSLR, then probably this noise will go away. So that's what you say, all right? So if you want to buy a good handphone, it really cannot compare to professional DSLR, no matter how, right? Professional camera, it can cost $10,000 to $20,000, and handphone, the most $1,000, $2,000, right? Or can be slightly more, that's all. So for editing, you have to go back to editing setting. We cover mainly about composition, about how to take photo. So I'm sorry again. So I hope you have enjoyed this time. we able to learn a little bit how to take good photo, make use of these skills. And today, we just as an introduction, there are many skills you can learn. In fact, there are many websites this day. You just click on it. You can see a lot of different techniques you can learn from. So don't stop there, especially this time. You're confined at home, so must well learn something good, right? Make use of the skill, right? Okay, thank you again. So towards the end, really, we like to thank you a lot of different people, especially Ngee Polytechnics to arrange for this course. I'd like to thanks my colleague to arrange for this, and also like thanks C3A Council for the third gauge, the staff members, they arranged for this special course, and all our tech people around to support and make sure the things work right. And we have done a few dry runs, and it seems work everything okay. All right. So I hope you enjoy the time together and make use of the skills you use whenever and wherever you like it. Hope you have good times today. Goodbye and have a good day, everyone.
Stay tuned for the next session of the NSA eNugget series, which goes live every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. on C3A's Facebook page. You can check out the talk schedule at www.c3a.org.sg and for more resources on how you can age well. For more inquiries, you can call 6478 5026. Thanks for watching. See you soon.